Almost there. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining the Prince George's County community in Maryland tonight. We have a very special event for you. My name is Nicholas Brown, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Communication and Outreach at the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. We're so grateful to the College Park Aviation Museum, their director, Kevin Cabrera, and the entire Latinas in Aviation festival community, which is global and awesome. And we're so excited for the events that are coming up over the next few weeks, culminating in the wonderful in-person festival on October 2nd here in College Park, Maryland. The library's role here is as a partner of the College Park Aviation Museum. We really appreciate their long-standing collaboration with us over many years. And in COVID mode, we have rebooted that, and we're bringing some great content to you and spreading the good news about the library and the museum and our joint programs. So we are broadcasting live on Facebook tonight. If you are on Facebook and care to share that link, we would love to have more people join us. So share that around. You can visit our page at PGCMLS. And we've got captions going, and there's opportunity for you to chat with the speakers as we go tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Kevin, who will take us away. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Nick. On behalf of College Park Aviation Museum, I want to say good evening. Buenas noches a todos. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I'm super excited, not just for this panel, but for the series of events that we have coming up that will be culminating on October 2nd, our Latinas in Aviation Global Festival 2021. And with that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce Jacqueline Camacho-Ruiz, who was the author, one of the authors of Latinas in Aviation. And I want her to talk a little bit about the book that we're going to be celebrating. And not just the book, but the major part of the book is the Latinas, the women that we're celebrating. And so, Jackie, if you pleasure to have you here tonight. We also have Sandy and Anna, and another Jackie will be joining us briefly, and we'll have a chat soon. But Jacqueline, if you don't mind, maybe introducing yourself, a little bit about you, and just hitting us off about the book and how that all came about.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much to the Prince George County Memorial Library System, and of course, College Park Aviation Museum. Kevin, you've been a true champion in helping us elevate our voices as Latinas in aviation. A little bit about me, I became a sports pilot a few years ago. I started flying about 8 years ago and got my license in 2018, and fell in love with aviation. I think aviation came to explain how I live my life, whimsically and also pragmatically. And where they meet is where magic has happened in my life. So it's completely changed the way that I see things, both on the ground and in the air. And because of this passion that was awakened, as I got my license as a sports pilot, in my 20 years as a marketer, I wanted to bring those two worlds together, and my passion for elevating brands and my passion for aviation together to follow this inspiration that came to my heart in 2018, 2019, when I noticed, like many of us have noticed, that there's not a lot of women in aviation. There's not a lot of women aeronautical engineers and mechanics and captains and sports pilots and military pilots that are Latinas, that look like us. And I went on a journey asking all my contacts, asking my connections to see if they knew Latinas in aviation. And little did I know that there were amazing stories. And when I got to 22 incredible connections, including the former NASA chief engineer, Evelyn Miralles, I decided to put together a compilation of their stories and their journeys to elevate them and to elevate, their journeys, in becoming the rarest in the industry, which are Latinas in aviation. And that's basically how this came about. And I'm very fortunate and blessed that through one of the contributing authors, Maria Elena from Spain, an aeronautical engineer from Airbus, made the connection. And through the other inspiration that I had about, bringing us together physically, because we've never had we never had an opportunity to come together as contributing authors for a book launch physically because of the pandemic. That's how, sort of the journey came about. But you, Kevin, are absolutely amazing, incredible. And I'm just so happy that we're here. We're celebrating, we're elevating the stories. Tonight we have Jackie Pulido, we have Sandra Granados and Ana Uribe-Ruiz. And you'll be hearing more about their fascinating stories and their journeys in the world of aviation. So.
Well, thank you for that, Jackie. And I think that's a really good segue into kind of how this program that it's culminating in early October kind of came about. I'm a historian. I'm considered a cultural historian, born and raised in Southern California. My parents are immigrants from Mexico, and fell in love with the museum profession. And like Latinas in aviation, there's very few of us as Latinos or Latinas in museums. And last year when I moved from California to Maryland to take on this new role as director of College Park Aviation Museum, one of the first things that I wanted to do was understand the community around the museum and see how the museum is connecting with this community. And we have a very, very large Latino community around the museum. And we didn't necessarily the museum wasn't really doing much to kind of connect with them. So I, jumped on internet and started to do searching and came across the book, ordered the book, read the book, and not just read the book for myself, but ended up reading the book to my 6-year-old daughter. And I was just so inspired. And I said, you know what? This is just a perfect avenue for the museum to try to connect with these women. We were attached to the College Park Airport, which is the oldest operating airport in the world. And I said, we should have a fly-in, let's fly, let's have all these pioneer Latinas fly into the museum, fly into the airport and share their stories. And, that was just a big goal of mine. Obviously, I arrived last June to Maryland. I think I started having my first conversations with Jackie and some of the co-authors in November, December. And now this is all coming to fruition. So I'm super excited. I'm very thankful for all of the women. And not just that, but what I'm really excited about is I'm really excited for all the young children, all the young Latinas, all the young girls, boys, everyone, to hear the stories because they're truly inspiring. And so you'll probably be hearing this a lot over this chat, but October 2nd, Saturday, October 2nd at 10 a.m., the women will be flying into the airport and we'll have a day of festivities. But with that being said, we wanted to give you a little sneak preview of what to expect on Saturday, October 2nd. And so we have a few of the women here joining us tonight to kind of share their stories. And with that, Jackie, if there's anything else you want to add, feel free. If not, then we can jump in and introducing some of these amazing women.
Absolutely. I just want to say that, embarking on this amazing journey and following this inspiration, for the book and also the festival and being connected to you and really making history. I mean, I think that's something that we need to mention, that not only are we the rarest in the industry, but we're also coming together for the first time, which is unbelievable. I mean, this is the first book of its kind, the first festival of its kind, and pairing up with you as the director of this amazing museum and connection with the field of firsts, the oldest airfield in the world. I mean, that all makes an amazing combination of history, history in the making. And I think sometimes when you're living history, it's hard to notice that you're making history, right? But, from the time that the book came out, we are now featured in 3 different museums throughout the United States, in Texas and New York, and of course with you in Maryland. We have, I have personally gifted over 1,000 teddy bears. That is a symbol of a little teddy bear that flies with me. Her name is Amelia, of course, you know why. And to know that at this festival, we're going to be gifting 100 teddy bears with a beautiful rebozo, which is a beautiful piece of ornament that was made, custom made in Mexico for the little teddy bears that will be given away, in every detail that, obviously, we've worked out with your team and all the amazing support that we've gotten. And it's, plan obviously on taking this around the world, so it's history in the making. We hope that all of you watching the replay can join us in making history, because these are the moments the micro moments that make life more beautiful and amazing. And without further ado, we'd like to bring in our amazing guests that have poured their hearts into sharing their stories in this amazing historic book, Latinas in Aviation, and they'll be joining us at the festival. So Kevin, if you want to kick it off introducing our first guest, take it away.
Yeah, so perfect timing because Jackie just arrived. So I'm going to be introducing Jacqueline Pulido, and I'll do a brief bio of her, and then she'll have a few minutes to chat about herself, and then we'll go to the next young lady. So Jacqueline is a former A320 captain. Her love for aviation stems from her childhood as an airline brat, where her mom worked as a flight attendant and her dad as an airline pilot. She started flying at 17. Her dream was to follow her father's footsteps and one day become a captain too. She is happily married to the love of her life, who is also an A320 captain. She is a proud mommy to her son, Mateo. In 2017, she temporarily hung her wings to care for him, but still remains active in the aviation industry. Currently, she is a 320 simulator flight instructor, teaches aviation English, is the co-author of Latinas in Aviation, as well as Mexico correspondent of the Latinas in Aviation magazine. She volunteered as an ambassador at Women with Wings, where they support and encourage other women in aviation. She participates in programs that introduces children to aviation. She is passionate about safety in aviation, enjoys cooking, is a woman of faith in God, and is committed to helping advance girls and women in aviation. You can contact her on Instagram at JIPIBAL. I'll put that in the chat. And without further ado, welcome, Jackie. You're on mute.
Sorry. Sorry, I thought I had unmuted myself. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I'm thrilled to be here and excited to be able to share part of my story with everyone. And like you just said, I'm very excited to inspire more women and introduce, of course, children to aviation so that they can fall in love with this beautiful part of life. Thank you.
Perfect. So now we're gonna introduce two of our amazing guests joining us tonight. We have Ana Uribe-Ruiz next. Let me tell you a little bit about Ana, and she's probably the only person in the world that I can say that her father started an airline in Ecuador. So stay tuned for that fact in this bio, which is absolutely impressive. She was born and raised in Quito, Ecuador. Aviation has always been part of her life. Her father formed an airline in the late 1950s. That was the flag airline for the country for many years, Ecuatoriana de Aviación. For her brothers and her, flying was the usual thing, going from one place to the other. That was the norm. She spent time with her dad and his captains in the cockpit and was able to see the world from a different view. She went to law school and then moved to the US in the early 80s to study finance and become a banker. When she got married, her husband had a private pilot license, so the idea of flying together came about. Those things changed when her son was diagnosed as autistic, so she became involved with the special needs community, and flying needed to be later. After becoming a pilot, she became incredibly involved with Women in Aviation International Week, and the only private pilot that has a Jefferson Award for the public service, bringing women together in the aviation world in the Bay Area. She is immensely proud of that accomplishment given to her in March of 2014. She joined WAA, or Women in Aviation International, and now is a co-president of the San Francisco Bay Area chapter. At the same time, she was able to form the Women in Aviation International chapter in Costa Rica, and a new chapter for Central America is on its way. Not too long ago, she was approached by an amazing pilot and publisher in the Chicagoland area. Thank you for that. Amazing. To a group of Latinas to publish a book, Latinas in Aviation. How? What a coincidence. We're talking about that. And it was a privilege to be part of such an amazing group of professionals and to be able to show who we are and what we can do to empower more Latinas to be part of the aviation world. The aviation industry needs to have more of us out there. And as such, she's often talking about presenting in schools about aviation, its relationship to STEAM, which includes robotics and art, and being able to inspire the future generation of pilots. Mentorship is key, so the next generation will take us further into the aviation and aerospace industry. Please help me welcome Ana Uribe-Ruiz.
Thank you for that introduction, Kevin. Thank you for doing this. And Jackie, it's a privilege to be part of this amazing movement. I think, with this thing that started small, is becoming larger and larger, and it's the push we have been doing, all of us together in different places. As you mentioned, aviation was always in my house. So we had the opportunity to fly and sit down in the carpet many times with my dad. And then my husband is a pilot, so our weekends, so our dates are a little bit different than the rest of you. We take a little plane from one place to another one and have breakfast or maybe something, dinner, sometimes. Mentorship for me is key in the industry. And I think we need to put our faces out there to make sure that the next generation has a step up and see that it's possible to do what we do. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. And I also have the honor to introduce an amazing woman, another amazing woman, Sandra Granados. She is a resident of Chicago, Illinois. Yay! She earned a bachelor's degree in aviation maintenance management, as well as her airframe and power plant certification from Lewis University in 2001. Sandra was the youngest female aircraft mechanic hired by a major airline, ATA, American Transair, in the year 2000, where she quickly obtained a position as a senior line technician working on Boeing's 727s, 737s, and 757s. Her experience on the 737 landed her a job at the Gary Jet Center in Gary, Indiana, an FBO that contracts with Boeing's executive fleet of airplanes. She served as a flight technician and superintendent of the fleet Boeing business jets and Challenger aircraft during the international travel. She was responsible for the overall maintenance and safety of the aircraft as they operated around the world. Currently, she works for Abby's flight department as a senior flight manager, supporting their fleet of executive aircraft. In her 20 years in the profession, she has gained a wealth of technical knowledge relating to the aircraft systems and aviation operations. She holds numerous training certifications and currently serves on the National Business Aviation Association as a committee member and the Flight Technician Board. She's also an active member of Women in Aviation, Association for Women Aviation Maintenance, and other aviation-related organizations. She has recently added published supporting author to her resume as her story was featured in the book, Latinas in Aviation. Woohoo! Sandra is very passionate about her profession and takes advantage of many opportunities to encourage the younger generation of females to consider a career in aviation and change the current demographics of Latina aviators in the industry. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jackie. Pleasure. Kevin, thank you. Thank you both, honestly, for having this vision, for bringing all these amazing women together. It's truly an honor to be a part of it. And as I hear Kevin talking about the event on October 2nd, I'm sitting here with goosebumps, just completely thrilled about it, right? but yeah, honestly, I'm looking forward to it. This journey has been nothing but amazing on all levels. I was a young girl who literally would sit, around the airfields, just gazing up at airplane, wishing that I had, a grandfather or a father that was in aviation that could make that connection for me, to draw me closer to the industry and introduce me and show me around. And so here I am now. I don't want to say how many years later, right? We'll I'll withhold from that. But it's been an amazing journey. And now to be able to perhaps be that bridge, be that connection to a younger Latina or a younger female, just in general, that would be interested in this amazing industry, it's my pleasure. And honestly, I enjoy it so much. And so I'm always looking for mentorship opportunities and anything that I can do to be that person that I always looked for. So I'm really, really excited. I look forward to sharing my story. There's so much of this journey. My job with Boeing afforded me to travel all over the world and check off over 70 something countries. And that alone, I just look back and reminisce and just continue to think like, wow, what an amazing journey. And so the fact that aviation has afforded me that privilege, I think, I look forward to sharing with everybody and inspiring and continue to motivate, and obviously meet the rest of our amazing book sisters, because I think this is going to be the first time that we, the majority of us, will get together and meet in person for the first time. So that's super exciting. And I'm really looking forward to that. So definitely would like to put it out there, invite everybody to come out October 2nd to our really awesome event and celebrating so many amazing Latinas. So thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Jackie.
I love it. And, Kevin, back to you so that you can kick it off with the first question. We're having a conversation, and what we're hoping is that you will walk away inspired, that you feel the energy of, this amazing group of people that, our goal is to inspire and elevate others, no pun intended. Aviation, right? So back to you, Kevin.
Yeah, well, I think, the common thread that I've heard from all of you is you saw aviation growing up. For Anna and Jackie, you were around it in your family, and for Sandy, you had that like longing that you wish that you had someone in your family that can make that connection deeper to you. But in that same instance, it inspired you to learn more. And so the question that I have for you is, how have you taken that experience and then move that into your daily life? Obviously, you've talked about mentorship, and mentorship being very important. So can you talk a little bit about that? And if you have maybe a specific story of a mentee or a mentorship story that you'd like to share.
Sure, yeah. So working for a corporate flight department, it's a tight-knit family that we have. We have pilots. At the previous flight department, we also had flight attendants, and we had a group of flying technicians that would fly on board the aircraft. We took care of all the maintenance, basically. But what's so nice about it is that our hangar, being local, I was able to bring family. I was able to bring friends to tour the facility. And I tell you what, nothing compares to seeing a young, as not even aspiring aviator, because they may not have that interest yet, right? But the moment that I bring them onto the airplane and sit them on the pilot seat, and they get to hold the controls, and they get to see all the buttons, and they get to see outside the window, I mean, that is priceless. The look on their face just changes, and you never know, right? You can really plant that seed at that moment to say, you know what, I never ever dreamed about even sitting here. now I can make it a possibility, and I can make this, right, a dream. I can make it a lifelong possibility. And so I've had many instances where I've had really good friends. I invite them out to the airplane. We have air shows also at the facility, and I'm just always thrilled about it. I have so much passion for what I do that I obviously want to share that. And any opportunity that I get, like I said, to bring someone closer to my world, to experience the things that I see every day. I mean, not too many people can say that your office is a hangar full of airplanes, right? So that alone is an awesome feeling. And so I try to do that. Like I said, no matter who it is, right? The book gives us sort of that segue into that. It gives us that exposure that we want. And so hopefully it's incredible how well received this book has been, right? I get emails all the time from just girls, high schoolers, people, girls in college that just say, hey, I got a hold of the book. I read your story and I am so inspired by it. I never thought that as a female, I could be an aircraft mechanic. I've never heard of that. I've heard of auto mechanics, but I never knew that this was possible. So to be that figure and to be that inspiration for someone, absolutely priceless, Kevin.
Thank you, Sandy. Anna, would you like to maybe share a story about mentoring and mentorship?
Okay, so yeah.
That's Anna's world, right, Anna?
That's my world. That's my world.
She lives and breathes mentorship.
Yes.
It's so beautiful.
So mentorship is key. Without it, when you walk, I'm working the school district. So when you walk into a class and they look at you, says, "Why are you what?" Says, "I'm a pilot." And they look at you, "No, yeah." So they give you little things that you collect along the way and teach them what is a Victor Airway. It's like a highway in the sky. And you give them maps, they look, they see, says, yeah, and then you put a little video and show them when you fly. And it's part of making sure that they don't get scared of what they see. Because maybe it's not the aviation itself, but it's a way to open the horizon in a different way. When I did the flights for the women in the area, what I did at the beginning, the first time I had 50, the second time I had 400. So try to coordinate 400 ladies between 15 and anybody up to 60 that I had that day in that week, and have the planes on the ground with the pilots that were giving me the time and the plane to take these ladies up was incredible. And in the mix, try to bring somebody who's outside the box. So I had the opportunity to bring Olga Custodio in the conversation, and she was present with the kids and looking, sitting with her and looking at this amazing lady, and having someone from the Air Force in a different place that is not necessarily the pilot, but that's something different in the Air Force. So Graciela Tiscareño Sato was with me. So it was very nice to see those faces. Open up those eyes. This is, ooh, pilot, flying. This is, yeah, remember, your house, your little neighborhood, your city, keep looking outside. See the world from the top to the bottom and see the possibilities you have. It's the same thing when you choose a profession. If you like something, start from the bottom. Look what you need, find someone who can guide you, and then keep adding all those things that you need to make sure you're doing to collect that path. So I have a couple of students that started the flying when they were 16. They got the license before the driver license. So they were coming, walking. They says, I have my pilot's license and I don't know how to drive a car. So that was amazing to see. So yeah, it's really one by one to put that seed in there.
Thank you for that, Anna. Jackie, anything you'd like to share?
Well, definitely here in Mexico, it's very uncommon to see women mentoring because there's not so many pilots or women pilots down here, although it's growing. And right now, well, as the years have gone by, I didn't have the opportunity to start mentorship with more people or more women, but my opportunities were more like during my flights. So what I would do, I would usually open the flight deck door and always invite children in. That was part of my mission every flight, and try to bring them in the cockpit, you know, show them, sit them, like, just like Sandy said, you do change children's lives when you sit them in at the controls on the pilot seat, and they get to have that connection, special connection with the airplane. And they started, you can see their little eyes, you know, wondering and imagining what they could do. And that's when I started noticing that I sometimes had girls in the cockpit, and it was not uncommon for them to ask me, you know, can I be a pilot? Can women be pilots? And it's been continuing. So that's kind of where I noticed that I could start doing more programs with children. So that's what I try to do now. With COVID, it's been more complicated, but we do participate with some airlines, bringing, you know, children closer to aviation, and trying to now do it in a virtual way where we can send them videos and teach them parts of the aircraft and, you know, whatnot. But you can always notice how they're very, very excited learning these new things, and actually just learning that they can also, you know, they can also achieve that one day. Or now with Latinas in aviation, more friends are coming up to me and saying, well, I can be a mechanic, I can be an air traffic controller. And it's been wonderful. So it has been a very, very nice path now, this part of mentorship in a different way, like I'm doing it.
Thank you for that, Jackie. And I think one of the things that I really would like to say is that, you know, I see the passion and the importance of mentorship for all the women in the book. And I think, you know, I think what was great when I was reading the book was at the end of each woman's stories, you know, you share, like, this is my email, or this is my Facebook, this is my Twitter feed, like, this is how you can connect with me. And I think that just is that opens the doors for someone who might be interested or might just be hesitant to say, like, that, even that welcoming, it makes a big difference. And so that was one of the things I very much appreciated about the book. So I want to say thank you for that. I think Jackie has another question that she'd like to ask. So Jackie, it's all yours.
I'd like to, for you to take us to a moment of perhaps despair or maybe anxiety or something where you might have felt inadequate, right? When you see a world of people that don't look like you, how do you find that resiliency? Because you know that your heart desires to be in that industry, that you know that you want to be, you know, an aeronautical engineer, that you want to be a pilot, that you want to, you know, be around airplanes, right? You want to be a captain. But take us to a moment where you might have felt that you were about to give up and something inspired you to just keep going despite that feeling. Because a lot of times, you know, they see us and they say, well, you've achieved this, you made this happen, but they don't see sometimes, you know, the adversity that happens behind the scenes and what really inspired you to keep going and keep moving forward. This is not an easy industry. And, you know, I've heard of statistics that over 80% of the people that begin in general aviation as sports or private pilots, you know, as a hobby, like myself, that because of something, because of some type of adversity or financial issues, or something happened in the air, they give up, right? So what allowed you to stay put in this industry and allowed you to continue to expand your wings despite something that happened? So take us to that moment and tell us how you came out of that so that the audience can be inspired. So let's start out with Anna. And And then we'll go Sandy and Jackie.
Well, I think my story is a little bit different. The inspiration that I got, I do have a child with special needs at home. My son is autistic. So my husband is also a pilot. And we talked at the beginning to, to join him in his venture. Because the aviation was there, but it's not necessarily present in a sense, right? So when I got married and he was a pilot, we go there. But my son was first. So we concentrated on his, he's growing up and making sure that he's strong enough. And I think my husband's unconditional love and support and my son's smile. When he was 3, the first thing he grabbed was a plane. So I have a collection in my house with all the planes you can imagine. And planes at airports in my house is normal. So weekends are in the house. And I think the challenges in his side and his learning and his, growing kind of takes away of what you're doing, but at the same time grounds you. And that grounding is what allow many of us to keep going with things that we want to do. And, aviation is part of it. You have a problem, you see around you, says something is grounding me. Let's make it the next step, keep growing. And in that sense, I think the inspiration comes, at least in my house, my son and my husband.
Awesome.
Sandy.
So I would have to take you back. Wow. This is going back. I was 19 years old, my junior year of college, when I actually took my tests and officially became an A&P mechanic. And so at the time, American Transair was growing, was a major airline at the time, and they were starting to do a lot of hiring. They went into our school and they were just doing interviews on the spot. And so I remember going in for that interview and just completely nailing it, because I wasn't really looking for a job. To me, I wanted it to be more of an experience. I said, I still have another year of college, but yet I've never been in a professional interview. And so I want to know what kind of questions. I want to be better prepared for when I graduate so that I know exactly what I'm going to be asked and I can be ready. Well, it turns out that they offered me a job. I'm a junior in college. I still have another year of college to go. And I said, when the HR representative called me, I said, wait a second. I said, no. I said, I'm not really looking for a job. And she said, what do you mean, And so anyway, she said, what if we help you finish your last year of school? And for them, that meant putting me on the midnight shift. And so I was literally working from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning and going to school at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was in class till about 2:30 a lot of the days. And so finding myself getting like 4 hours of sleep. But taking you to that moment, I'm 19 years old, right? Female, Latina. And I remember showing up for my first day of work in just civilian clothes because I didn't have a uniform yet. And I walk into our meeting area. There was probably more than 55 mechanics at the time. And lo and behold, they were all male, right? And so I walk in and the majority of these men are probably 30, 40 years and up, bigger, burly men, right? I mean, they have their uniform on and they're ready to get to work on these airplanes. And I remember walking in and just being like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? And I'll never forget one of the biggest guys there. He comes up to me and he's just, I think he saw the expression on my face of just being scared and that feeling, like you said, Jackie, of feeling inadequate. And he came up to me and he said, did you come to work with your dad today? And I just remember like within me laughing, but at the same time thinking like, oh my God, like this is something that they have never seen before. This is a new experience for me. And I just remember sitting there thinking, I went home that day feeling somewhat defeated, feeling like, how am I ever going to be able to live up to the standards that these men have set, not only for themselves, for the company? And just continuing to think, I'm I'm going to do this. This is my passion. This is really what I want to do. And I think it was about proving myself, right? My mechanical abilities and having so many moments of truly shining when an airplane is broken and it's full of passengers and the pilot calls and he says, you know, our plane is broken, we may be grounded. And you get the opportunity to go up there, troubleshoot it, fix it, and get that airplane going. That, to me, that was the best feeling. And that's where I knew, you know what, if they can do it, I can do it. And I'm going to try to do it better. So that's my experience.
Wow. And you know, it takes a lot of guts to say, I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to go through. That's so inspiring for both, you know, Ana and Sandy. And of course, my tocaya, as we say in Spanish. You know, we have the same name. Now that you want to have two Jackies in the same place, because magic, you know, it's probably going to happen, especially with Ana and, you know, Sandy and Kevin here. So Jackie, was there a moment in your journey where you're just like, wow, I don't know if I could do this? And what kept you going?
Thank you, Jackie. Yes, definitely. I've had a few, but the one that I remember the most, I was also very young. I was 19 and had finished my commercial pilot. I had my license and I was starting to look for work. And I didn't know that there was very few women studying to be pilots, and I hadn't seen many. But as, of course, when I started working and asking, I actually started looking for work, and I started getting, you know, doors shut at my face because I was a woman, and they were very straightforward. They said, no, we don't want women pilots. We're not hiring women, or we don't hire women. And of course, some of them said, because, you know, if you get pregnant, we have to pay, or they would say, you know, terrible, mean things. And of course, I started getting discouraged, and that's, I guess, I got my heart broken because I never thought I was going to face that. And I would come back, you know, home and tell my mom, and she would say, well, don't worry, you know, we have to keep on knocking doors, and we will find one that will open. So let's get up tomorrow and take, you know, your resumes again. So definitely my mom was my biggest cheerleader, and she made sure, you know, to take me to, you know, give as many as resumes as we could. And yes, finally, one day, one door opened, and that's when it all started unraveling. But it wasn't definitely an easy part of my professional career, and especially because you can't do anything about just being a woman, right? It wasn't something that I could change. So, but of course, what I did was I started studying harder, preparing more, and said, well, you know, I can be a better pilot. I can show them that I can do this, right? And well, that's one of the toughest moments in the beginning of my career.
I love that. Back to you, Kevin.
I want to ask you something fun. Obviously, being in the industry, being able to, you know, work for very large corporations, I'm sure you've all had an opportunity to travel all over the place. Can you share with me, you know, a place that you got to travel that just was an amazing experience? And I think this is very important, especially for younger kids that you want to inspire. I remember my first flight ever. I was 18 years old, you know, so I was a little bit older in life. And so can you share, you know, the opportunities that you get to have and visit places being in the industry? And we can start with Jackie, and then we'll go Ana, and then Sandy.
Yes, of course. Wonderful places. There are a lot of places on my list, but definitely landing in Iceland is a big one. I had the wonderful opportunity to cross the Atlantic. I wanted to do it when I was very young, and I was all excited to do it, solo flight and do it on my own. But well, of course, it's pricey, and you need a lot of sponsorships, or pay it yourself. But definitely, what happened afterwards, and that's where I thank God so much, where he never forgets your about your dreams. And one day I was invited to bring a brand new airplane from Airbus, and we went to pick it up in Germany, and it was the first airplane for Volaris Airlines, and I got to be the first officer there. And I was very young, 23, 24, and that was my first Atlantic crossing, and it was amazing. The views, just everything was amazing. So definitely doing that was a wonderful place. And of course, I just have to brag about Mexico. Mexico has the most wonderful beaches, and the Caribbean is beautiful. So definitely those trips around here have been a true blessing.
Anna, you want to go?
Okay, so in my world is a little bit different because I was traveling with my dad since I was 4 years old. My first flight, I think we landed in the city of Guayaquil, that is the port city of Ecuador, at night. That was unusual. And then to fly to Florida, because that was the first time we fly internationally, waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go to the airport, go to the plane and fly. So DC-6, DC-10, DC-9, all kinds of airplanes that we flew since the 60s. So as a passenger usually, right? When I got my license, it was just around California. That's what we do. We fly around California. But as a passenger, I think the most memorable place we have been in, the best vacation I ever had with my husband and my son, is the day we went and flew straight up to Moscow. Absolutely fabulous. It's one of the most amazing places we have been. God willingly, if everything goes right, we'll go back in the 2023, bringing my father-in-law with us. But yeah, it has been one of the best places. And we think about when you take a car from one place to another one. For us, because we grew up in the industry, it was easy to show up in my father's office. He says, I have vacation Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. What can I do? And my father coming up at night says, "Here's, you take it. You're going down to Mexico tomorrow." I said, "Where in Mexico?" "Acapulco." "Okay, go Acapulco." Or come back the next day. He said, "Where are we going?" "Spain." "Oh, it was easy. It was normal. It was not unusual for us, but it was very unusual for everybody else. So when they ask you, where were you the last 5 days, is, well, I started in Colombia, ended up in Mexico, and came back to Panama. So it's kind of those interesting things. Yeah. So always with a small bag. Those days you need to dress up really well. Usually it was easy to fly first class when you used to be standby. So my brothers with a suit, me with a dress, and always a pair of jeans in the suitcase, just in case we didn't have no space. Because that will happen when we are a little bit more older. We used to fly the three of us together. And in the middle of the flight, Uribe, yes, you don't have space. One of you need to get down. So one of us need to stay halfway in. So, but that's kind of the fun part of the flying. Now we fly the little one.
Sandy?
That's awesome. Yeah. So for me, wow. Earlier on with my career with Boeing, when I took on the flight mechanic role, that first year, 2011, one of our executives decided to take a vacation trip, basically, and he just so happened to book it over Christmas and New Year's. And so I think he felt bad, and he put it out there, and he said, "Look, I appreciate you guys working this trip. I promise it's going to be a great trip. And I'm also allowing you guys to fly someone to the country that we're going to so they can spend Christmas and New Year's with you. And so that destination just happened to be Peru. We went to Machu Picchu. We did so much hiking, and it was just so surreal to spend Christmas in Machu Picchu. And then we spent New Year's in Patagonia, Chile, looking at glaciers. And it was just one of the most remarkable trips that honestly, I'll never forget, you know, waiting for Santa in, on the top of Machu Picchu, and then bringing in the new year, you know, just literally gazing over a glacier. So that was remarkable. And that's been a trip that honestly, I'll never forget. But there was a lot of great trips, honestly. And so, gosh, I'm so indebted to this industry because of that, because it's afforded me an opportunity to visit so many countries, meet so many wonderful people, indulge in the amazing foods that each country has to offer, and also the culture, right? I feel like it just makes us a more well-rounded individual in so many instances. And I think more empathetic too, to the things that were exposed on the road. And so, yeah, incredible traveling experience and traveling stories to go on for many years.
How many countries would you say you have visited in this amazing
So I
job?
tallied it, 73 countries, 73 countries, Jackie. Yeah. So
That is amazing. Well,
interesting enough, on that trip, we were actually supposed to cross over and take a boat into Antarctica, but the weather was so bad that it did not permit us to go. So we had to cancel the trip from Patagonia, from Chile. And so till this day, it remains the only continent that I have not been able to check off. So it's still on my list. It's still on my list.
that is amazing.
Australia.
And you
That's
know,
where I want to go. Yeah.
that is amazing. I mean, I fly in small little planes, you know, two-seaters mostly, and a couple of steps away from getting my private license, which will afford me to fly up to 6-seaters, which is very exciting.
Yes.
But I fly typically short distances to skydiving airports, to restaurants, to all these amazing places, you know. So maybe one day, as I, you know, I get other ratings and other licenses, I'll be able to fly longer distances. But in the meantime, I've enjoyed also, like you said, Sandy, Anna, and Jackie, many experiences, you know, flying in, getting stuck at an airport because of weather, you know, perfect condition for the weather to form a storm. And you're like, okay, let the weather pass. We'll be back in the air soon, and landing next to skydivers, little, you know, things of air, you know, like colors coming in next to you and seeing them get closer and closer. I'm like, they don't have an engine. I do. I got to stay away from these guys, you know, and enjoying a meal and then flying back with friends, seeing beautiful sunsets. I mean, so many, and really, I mean, the power of aviation, right, Kevin? I mean, it's like the magic of the technology. I mean, how can we afford to travel around the world in record time in amazing distances that before they used to take forever to get to? So I think all of us, even if you're not in the world of aviation, in this industry, we owe a lot to the world of aviation, because this is what allows us the opportunity to visit family, get to see amazing places, create micro moments of happiness around the world. Because of the distances, the world has gotten smaller and smaller, because there's an aeronautical engineer making sure the airplane flies all over the world, whatever airplane it is. There's a private pilot that is enjoying and using that as a beautiful mentorship opportunity to elevate the next generation. There's a captain that is still training and connecting with the next generation and making an impact. And of course, you know, there's an amazing leader at a museum that believes in all of these people that are making it possible so that we can come together. So back to you, Kevin. You know, as long as we live, we're going to continue to elevate this industry and women and Latinas around the world. It is our time, and we're super excited. And thank you, Prince George County Memorial Library System, for all the support. It means a lot.
Well, I'll say this. I'm jealous of hearing all the places that you've all gotten a chance to travel. But what I'll say is, I am so sure that all of you are getting goosebumps that in a few weeks, you're going to be traveling to this tiny little town in not that tiny, but a tiny little town in Maryland, College Park, that that the history of aviation, stems from there. So you're going to be flying into the world's oldest operating airport, sharing the day with each other, sharing the day with the community, and an opportunity to inspire, right? Inspire everyone who's there, especially young girls, young women, young Latinas. And so I'm super excited for that. I want to thank you for all the work that you've put in every single day of your life, especially every single day of your professional work, because it really takes, a lot of courage. It takes a lot of resiliency. It takes a lot of passion. It takes a lot of hard work to be trailblazers in a profession. So I thank you very much. I thank the Prince George's County Memorial Library system for allowing us to have this opportunity to talk and to have a little sneak peek about what's going to happen in a few weeks. And I thank you, Jackie, for your vision. I thank you, Anna, for your mentorship, Sandy, for all the hard work that you do, and Jacqueline for wanting to pass that on to your children, just like you got it from your family. If that's all I'll say, if you have any last final thoughts that you would all like to share, please do so. And if there's any comments, Nick, please let us know, or questions. And if not, I'll let all of you have final remarks.
Maybe say like a phrase or like an inspirational word that you want to leave the audience with, like that you live by in this amazing world of aviation. And if you allow me, I'll say my favorite phrase, taking off is optional, landing and your dreams is mandatory. Sandy.
Just always follow your passion, follow your heart, and you're always going to be guaranteed happiness.
Anna?
The sky is never the limit. It's the beginning of your journey.
And Jackie. Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Sorry. Come to aviation. Aviation has many hats you can wear, and you can excel here and grow here. We're waiting for you.
And Kevin, leave us with something, because you have been such an amazing supporter.
Well, I want to echo what Jackie just said, that has many hats. And I think I'd like you all to come out to College Park Aviation Museum on October 2nd at 10 a.m. to see the fly-in. You'll see all the many hats of all the different women, and realize that aviation is not just about being pilots. There's so much in the background. Just like in a museum setting, there's so much in the background. So I want to thank all my team, Jamie Jones, all my team who's been supporting this program in the background and putting together an amazing program. So we hope to see you on October 2nd at 10 a.m. For the fly-in and a day of festivities. Latinas in Aviation Global Festival 2021, collegeparkaviationmuseum.com if you want some more information. And again, thank you, Prince George's County Memorial Library System, for just being amazing partners for us and allowing us this platform to share the story and continue to share the story.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. You were such an inspiration. I had dreams as a child of becoming a pilot. Now I feel inspired to get back to that somehow. I made it to library land and music world, but you're all fabulous. And as someone who is half Latin, the importance of the female role models for all of us, not just for women, like men have a lot to learn from all of you too. And thank you for what you're doing. It's really transformative, and we're so honored and blessed to have you all as part of our community. So just before we wrap, I want to let everyone know that we have another event coming up in this preview series with the College Park Aviation Museum. The next one that is coming up is Friday, September 17th at 12 o'clock. And it's part of our STEM at Home series. And we're going to be joined by Captain Graciela Tiscareño Sato, who is going to talk about her book called Captain Mama Surprise, La Sorpresa de Capitán Mama. And she's a U.S. Air Force veteran, sounds like an amazing human. So we're looking forward to hearing from her. And then we'll be back the following week with another event, and then we'll see you all on October 2nd. Thanks so much, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.